When you hit your 20s, you encounter a specific psychological trap. You look ahead, and the runway of time appears infinite. Most people do not blow these 10 years in one massive, catastrophic mistake. They lose them slowly. They bleed the decade away through postponed decisions and the quiet comfort of telling themselves they will start tomorrow. The trap is highly effective because it does not trigger any internal alarms. Wasting your 20s feels exactly like living them. As the years tick by, a kind of invisible gravity begins to build. Your obligations grow, financial bills stack up, and family expectations take over, slowly eroding the absolute freedom you started with. This chart plots how the window closes. A descending blue line shows your freedom to fail and restart. A climbing red line represents the weight of your responsibilities. The shrinking space between them locks in an initial directional vector, and direction permanently becomes your destiny. It is tempting to wait around for a sudden burst of inspiration to fix your life, but the reality is your life is constructed in tiny, repetitive, often uncomfortable moments. If you sleep late, eat carelessly, avoid discomfort, and consistently chase cheap dopamine, you are actively training your neurology to become someone who cannot endure difficulty. Discipline often gets framed as a punishment. In reality, choosing to protect your time and endure a little discomfort is an act of basic self-respect. Dreams do not have compounding interest. Habits do. The temporary choices you make today will inevitably harden into an inescapable lifestyle. You have likely been told that getting a degree guarantees you a secure job. That advice belongs to an older era. Today, a degree might get you past the front door, but it does not guarantee your survival inside the room. The economic reality is blunt. The market does not pay for potential. It pays for the rare ability to solve complex, real-world problems. This graph compares two paths of learning. The smooth, flat line represents passive consumption, watching endless tutorials without actually doing the work. The chaotic, upward trending line represents applied failure. Real skill acquisition is built entirely in those unseen, messy attempts. The ultimate goal of building deep skill right now is simple. You want to reach a state where you are mathematically hard to replace. Right now, you are in the lowest risk era of your entire human lifespan. You likely have no mortgage, no dependents, and no empire to protect. The cost of failure is essentially zero. It is incredibly easy to sink into a comfortable job and a familiar city, but making high-risk moves while the penalty for failing is this low is an absolute necessity. The greatest danger is avoiding risk entirely, which guarantees you will carry unresolvable regrets straight into your 30s. Many people spend their 20s aggressively chasing relationships, hoping another person will cure their internal lack of direction or deep loneliness. Using someone else for structural stability only exposes your own flaws. If you aren't solid on your own, you will end up wasting years contorting your entire life just to keep someone else around. Absolute internal stability is a non-negotiable prerequisite. When you build an autonomous life first, you naturally intercept people who are walking the exact same path. It is a common trope to say money doesn't matter, but financial capital is best understood as stored freedom. It is the power to say no, the freedom to choose your own hours, and the power to walk away. In your 20s, you possess the ultimate financial leverage. Time is the only multiplier that forces small amounts of capital to explode in value. This graph models compounding interest over time. Curve A starts early with a tiny monthly input and rockets upward. Curve B starts a decade later with a much larger input, but because it lost the multiplier of time, it mathematically cannot catch up to Curve A's trajectory. If you ignore basic financial literacy now, you will eventually be forced to trade the most vital years of your life simply to maintain a baseline of survival. Fast forward a decade and a half to age 35. This is where the long-term consequences of the autopilot path finally materialize. You wake up in a stable, predictable life that you never actively chose. You simply ended up there by default. Jobs, locations, and bank accounts will ebb and flow over the course of your life, but the baseline character and resilience you forge through the choices of this decade are permanent. Taking a deliberate path does not require mapping out every single detail of your future today. It only requires the decision to step off autopilot, because this era is finite.
The chapter of your 20s will irrevocably close, exactly the way all chapters do. When this decade ends and the fog clears, there is only one question that will matter. Will you be able to say you actively used this time, or did you just watch it pass by?